Hey, welcome to episode 39 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. We are filling in the middle with the Fun Economy Mid. We did the Fun Economy Pre, that was episode 38, before the now infamous Las Vegas Grand Prix Formula One race, which was held on November 18th. So this is mid. I say mid because the race is over, but we have yet to figure out really what happened. So we'll talk about what people are talking about, which I find interesting in the context of the cultivation of our innovation culture. That sounds repetitive, but bear with me. And the eventual establishment of our true entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem here, whether it becomes something grand or whether it just becomes something that supports local entrepreneurialism will remain to be seen, but we will find out. So as always, we talk about our local economy, the EIE, as I just referred, and the people that make that happen, the impresarios part. This being the holidays, by the way, today is 24 November. It's November this time. 24 November, Black Friday, if you will. All about making money. A day for business, a day for consumerism, capitalism in action, which is fine. I'm not anti any of those things. But today we're going to talk about, and I do have the one in there, play on words, so to speak. So the F1 fun economy. We're going to talk about where we are as the race has just completed not quite a week ago. And then we'll do a post probably a month or two from now. Once more data is available, more data is published, more of the mysteries are solved, so to speak. So there was a winner. That was somewhat ironic, considering that winner, Max, what's his name? I'll find it. Max V. Max Verstappen. Yeah, Verstappen. He was particularly opinionated, which I appreciate. I am probably even more opinionated. I have one of the headlines in the show note. The show notes are full of links. Basically, since just before the race and certainly during and after, all manner of opinions, positive and negative, have unfolded and found a way to be expressed in the written, often written, sometimes video or podcast world. That's what the press is for. So before real numbers to come out, though, which I hope they will, the LVCVA publishes tourism numbers and will probably publish more since they were so intimately involved in this event. Assessments can be made at that point, and that's what our post will be. So there's the pre, episode 38. There's the mid. You're listening to that now. And the post will come much later. But I figured, hey, it's a long weekend. Why not, while it's still fresh, talk about what people are talking about, like I said. So I'm only going to flip through some headlines. I have a long list, but I do encourage you to flip through some of them that sound interesting. They're all there. They cover a variety of different aspects of the race and the adjacent considerations. But the three areas that should be considered most closely in the post, one of them in particular. So the three tracks, see what I did there? The three tracks are the race itself and the success found by and for team owners, drivers, fans, and others. So the race could have happened anywhere. They do happen everywhere. This weekend it's in Abu Dhabi. Before Vegas, I think a week or two before, it was in Austin. I cannot call myself a true race fan. I know how cars work, and I know what ground effect is. I have some idea why a manhole cover, or whatever they call them nowadays, an access panel cover, whatever that is, damaged a car. It's a ground effect, low pressure. So things like that are interesting to me, but I cannot say that I follow the exciting world of Grand Prix racing. Formula One may as well be a beverage. So the race itself, though, is one track. The big money winners, the resorts, the casinos, the people that invested in the race here, any bars, sports books, and honestly, I don't even know if they were betting on the race, but we'll find that out. And again, the casinos here, for example, do a monthly, I don't know if they report it the month after or 2 months after, but there is a monthly sort of P&L. I think it was for October. It's not totally relevant right now, but I think it was for October. There was like 790 million dollars of revenue for the casinos, but revenue for the gaming revenue for the casinos. So gaming revenue is essentially profit, right? Those numbers are, I'll have to look up the gaming control board. That will probably be much more detailed in the post. That's the intent, is to find out where the winners were and how much they won. I don't mean gaming winners, I mean here. So, but big money winners, the casinos and whatnot. Anyone who did direct business, direct business with the race owners, with the team owners, with the drivers, with the fans, with the people who came here for the race. That may or may not appear in the tourism and visitor stats, the research at which I've linked to that at the bottom of the links. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority research part of their website, where they do publish a lot of actually interesting data about people who visit the greater Vegas area. And finally, the third track is the rest of greater Vegas. That's us. Do we, as people who live here, workers, small business owners, maybe even those visiting for something other than Formula One, which I suppose that's possible. How did everyone else fare in this adventure? So the race itself, even though leading up to the race there was a lot of drama, some of the drivers, including the eventual winner, were fairly negative. There's been some sniping and some bickering and some, I think even some fines, some consequences to free speech, if you will. So it was sort of a soap opera. I don't know if that's part of the, almost like World Wrestling or even boxing. Boxing, of course, which is most definitely established here in the Vegas area. I think Caesars has been a frequent home of some of the best known, relevant, historically amazing boxing matches, the sweet science, as they say. So maybe some of that was to drum up interest, a little bit of drama, a little bit of bravado ahead of time. Who knows? Basically, it's too soon to tell what all this really means, but I'll flip through a couple of headlines at this point. I'll just read the headlines. So, I've read or skimmed these articles. Like I said, I'm not a big race fan, but I'm curious to know, and of course we have the links. You can read them anytime. I'm curious to know how this all fits together from a systems point of view. So, obviously the manhole issue, according to, one headline, the manhole issue is unacceptable. Well, of course it is. These are the sorts of things that you do better and better each year. So, I think the general consensus is this happens. It's of course super unfortunate, expensive. And in this particular case, because they had to cut the practice race, the practice runs, I don't know, F1un, I think it was, because they had to practice later, so they cut it short and then they moved it to later. So the people that were there to see the practice, the fans who paid, I think, more than a couple bucks to be there. I want to say it was 2:30 in the morning. They moved the practices such that they were going to continue later and into more early hours, later, earlier, whatever. And so they told the fans to leave, and that was also unacceptable for some. And apparently there's now a class action lawsuit that has got a lot of zeros in it for paying fans that they were not welcome to see what they paid for. So that could be interesting. That will be interesting to watch just on its own, to see what people might expect when they pay big dollars to see big events. Here's a sexy headline. Las Vegas, filthiest and most unhygienic hotels and casinos are revealed ahead of this weekend's hotly anticipated Formula One race. And that was in the Daily Mail in the UK. That's an eye-catching headline. That makes you want to read it. Like, what's going on? Vegas has had a very public bedbug issue and superbug issue. There's an uncurable fungus, I think it is. I'm not going to get into that science. That's a topic for a deep dive, not about business and entrepreneurialism, but about public health. But suffice to say, when you have so many people from so many places coming to one location and then leaving, anything is possible. So filthy and most unhygienic. Those are words you love to hear, especially in Yelp reviews or TripAdvisor. So yeah, there is there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth link if you're keeping score. F1 fans removed from grandstand ahead of delayed Vegas FP2. So yeah, the FP1 was early in the evening. It stopped 10 minutes in or 20 minutes in due to this manhole not being properly sealed, welded down, and then it damaged a vehicle. So when they were told to leave, there were hurt feelings. I believe, if I recall correctly, the Formula One people offered a $200 voucher of some sort to buy Formula One swag. And some of the follow-up articles were, $200 doesn't get you much. Not really surprised. Customer service. There's the Wall Street Journal. Formula One bet $600 million on Las Vegas. Could it be a busted flush? It's always good to see optimistic enthusiasm in the major media. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is off to a disastrous start. Formula One's race in Las Vegas proves it doesn't get its new American audience. That's in Vox. Washington Post had a sort of a basic article on inside the debut. How successful does Las Vegas F1 race need to be to fulfill 10-year commitment? That's a good one to keep track of. Our verdict on F1's wild Las Vegas GP thriller. That's from The Race. I'll let you read that because that verdict is going to change. It's all over the place in the last week. Yay or boo or both at the same time. Daniel Ricciardo delivers verdict on painful Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend. That's from Planet F1. Really challenging. The driver, an F1 driver, apologized to the team after performance in Las Vegas this weekend. That's in F1 Oversteer. F1 News, Max Verstappen, the winner of the race. Las Vegas GP celebration has fans in hysterics. Formula One news, rumors, and standings, and more from F1 briefings. Column. Where was the column from? Oh, a column on AOL. F1 hits the jackpot after many stumbles. The Athletic. I got to be honest. I thought it was the Atlantic when I first saw it. The Athletic. F1 may have won in Las Vegas, but changes are needed for the next year, of course. A poker player had a $400,000 night Caesar's Palace suite and was probably playing poker. It was in Poker News. I'm going to guess that not everyone was paying $400,000 a night. There's some intrigue with the winner. Verstappen crosses the line to win the first race at the new strip. So on the one hand, he crossed the finish line. On the other, he said a bunch of stuff before. And I think some people are calling him out after. Another column on Auto Racing Digest. The F1 circus, that's in quotes, in Vegas proves to be more forgettable than memorable. Ooh, ouch. In motorsports, Max Verstappen criticizes Las Vegas Grand Prix. So he was doing that quite a bit. I made a point of mentioning that in the pre-episode last week. I don't even know who the guy is. It's just that he was making headlines with his complete negativity, the 99% show, 1% race, things like this. So there's a lot of negativity. And a lot of the content I have here is about this race because that's all we really have at the moment. We know a lot of money went into it. We know it had issues. We know that the race was won. We know that there were no accidents that caused permanent damage. I always have this, once you see a tire wheel, fly off of a vehicle moving at high speed on a track or anywhere and fly up into the stands and bounce off people, that doesn't work out for anyone. So I never hope for those things where you're like, man, that would not be good, obviously. So nothing like that happened so far that we're aware of. So that part's good. So all these are scuttlebutt, right? They're all some bickering, some complaints about the schedule, the proximity to the finale, I guess, in Abu Dhabi, which I believe is this weekend. So for next year, they want it to be spaced out more so the drivers can rest. That doesn't seem too bad, too unreasonable. Resort leaders, the people that are in the big money group, say Formula One was the best Las Vegas event ever produced. And that's where we'll look in the post section a month or two, or I hope it's a month or two. I hope it's like a month down the road, and we'll see where the money ended up and who the winners and losers, as they say. But so far, there appears to be unreserved optimism from the big money crew. The F1 teardown, now this is where we get into the local impact. The F1 teardown is to take 6 to 8 weeks. Locals, visitors, those are people that are the tourists who were not necessarily here for the race, perhaps, feel disappointed. And that there's a YouTube video. I think that was our local Fox News affiliate. But so yeah, this is where we're starting to get into the not big winner, big money race people, but the normal people. There's an article about the parties. There's a particularly interesting one that I will touch on more specifically in a moment, but it's how Formula One accidentally, that's an interesting use of that word, accidentally helped Las Vegas workers land the best contract ever. And obviously they're referring to the strike that didn't, which still could actually, believe it or not. The culinary union, basically the people that make Vegas go, the normal people, who are never appreciated, never paid properly. The tip economy is broken. They should be paid as though they are really doing work, because guess what? They are. So there was a strike. There was a walkout, I guess. There was a demonstration. I don't think it actually got to a full-on strike, but there was definitely, hey, guess what? Before your big giant event, we're gonna leverage this for our benefit, which good for them. That's what collective bargaining is for. So accidentally, I believe, is it's a clickbait. It's not really accidental. I do find it interesting. I'll just say this. I do find it interesting that at the same time, OpenAI accidentally ousted its co-founder and CEO, and then he accidentally got a job offer immediately from Microsoft, which is an investor, and then he accidentally got reinstated as a CEO, and the board got booted. So yeah, the accidents like this are strategic, no doubt. Apparently 1.3 million people watched the actual race. It'll be interesting to know how many, it says in the US. It'll be interesting to know what fraction of the total fan base that watches online or on TV. 1.3 million. It's not bad. 40 million people come to Las Vegas each year. This is 1.3 million in a day, but they weren't actually here. A great race wasn't enough to get Las Vegas Grand Prix ratings over the hump. That's another article in the links. Max Verstappen warned over angering F1 owners. That's from gpfans.com. Like I said, I don't know what the culture of F1, of car racing in general is. I have to think that some of the bravado and the drama adds to the overall, but I could be wrong. Another article, again from The Athletic, $500 million Las Vegas Grand Prix by the numbers, $135 cocktails, etc. So that's another look at, the joy of being at an event like this. Bad language warnings. So again, some of the drivers especially were irked, is the word. This is a reasonable. Formula One's Las Vegas Grand Prix proved the doubters wrong, but there's still work to do. Yes, of course. There's an adage, if you're an Apple user, if you're an Apple fan, never get version 1. There's always the launched product and then the real product, which gets a few of the point release fixes that didn't make. So version 1 always has a deadline, and because it's a first, you can't go, well, we've been doing this for 10 years. The last Formula One race in Las Vegas was in 1982. It was very different. So, this was version 1, and version 1 will be fraught with learnings. And then there's an article in The Thrillist, what it was like to attend Las Vegas. So that's the rundown. I think there were some more I skipped over, but so those were basically, there was one mention, there were two mentions, I think. There's a local Fox YouTube video, And I think there's one other article. The impact on local businesses. I believe I've seen elsewhere too. Small businesses did not make out. There was one article on downtown. If you're a Vegas local, you know downtown, especially now the Arts District, the Brewery Row, same area. So basically, just north of the Stratosphere, in the 18B, the Arts District. That's where all the sort of new up and coming restaurants, bars, etc. The Brewery Row has some actual breweries. So apparently that place was a ghost town on Friday night. It was not the typical bustling Friday. So the race weekend led most local people, and again, it's more of a local spot, right? People come to Vegas for the Strip. They only sometimes come to Vegas to hang out on Fremont Street, see the Viva Vision, maybe check out Circa, or many of the many fine establishments down on Fremont or in Fremont East or in the general area. So the Arts District, I didn't read anything about Fremont. Fremont was probably still its normal bustling weirdness, but we know that local business on Friday, anecdotally for the time being, probably lost money because nobody was around. It was very quiet. People preferred to stay off the streets, which is probably a good idea. I got to be honest. I left town. I was visiting my family in Phoenix, Arizona. Why not get out of town for a race like this and then get back home before the Thanksgiving holiday weekend chaos? So yeah, my plan was to not be a part of the Formula One economy at all. Maybe some others did the same. So the race itself, to get back on my notes here, generally seems okay. There's the complaining and bickering, but you'll have that. And again, the race finale in Abu Dhabi. So all this kind of fits together, I think. So got to keep the energy level up and always keep talking about it and so on. So these are sort of par for the course. The big money winners, of course, are going to be excited about the event because they want it to happen next year. They want these events that benefit them. I have to wonder, like investment risk, how much of that was social, how much of that was borne by Formula One. So these are some things that we will eventually find out. I think it's important to know when investment in infrastructure is going to benefit the few at the expense of the many versus just benefiting the few. And if it's public money, of course, it does at the expense of. But grossly speaking, a baseball stadium, a football stadium, these events that have a structure that bring people to them, that's during construction, of course, there's transportation issues and so on. But there's a case to be made for and against those. Something that causes the level of disruption that the Formula One race did, from construction to fundamental changes to the landscape downtown and along the track, right? It's cutting down trees and so on. And then the ongoing impact of these things, and then the recurring impact if this does happen over the course of the next, certainly next year, I suppose. But I believe the initial contract is for 3 to 4 years, and the plan is for 10 years or something like that. So the finer details, I'm sure, will be coming out as the dust settles. Big money, no whammies. Some will get that. The real visitor numbers, that'll be interesting to get from the LVCVA. So I have a link to the show in the show notes about where that research section is on their website. The news we kept hearing about as the race approached was that tickets and rooms and other visitor features were coming down in price rapidly. Shockingly for some. There are obvious questions to ask about why. Apparently, demand was much lower. I believe I linked to an article in the pre-show that the demand was not as expected nor planned for. So if they planned for twice as many people, well, that's gonna have an impact somewhere. So I cannot imagine everything was quite as rosy as they're making it sound, and that's ideally what we'll see in some cases. If, as I mentioned, the gaming in Greater Vegas, they disclose their monthly revenue from the casinos. I've never really looked at those numbers in great detail, but I do know that they're published for the state, so, and broken down by region, locality. So I believe it was $1.2 billion in gaming revenue for the state of Nevada for, I believe it was October, could have been September, and 790-ish or some, it was something like that. So they give that level of breakdown. I'll have to see what the resolution is on some of these numbers. But an interesting question will be whether visitors for the race, staying at resorts and playing gaming in the casinos near the track, the related areas, what impact that had on gaming revenue, and whether that offsets any that was lost. And I'll get to this next session. That was lost for people not coming here or not participating as they normally would have. And it's tricky to do year over year for that. We can probably look at month over month. Yeah, we'll see. Less tangible returns. We'll have to see how that goes, right? So it's really easy to post these numbers about specific wins, but how transparent will the big money players be about the negative side, and again, the impact on normal tourists, the people who wanted to visit Vegas for Vegas-y things, who may have been displaced by the high room cost, by the vast changes and the issues with getting around and so on. And the rest of us, I haven't talked about tourists yet. The rest of us, that's the people who live here, the locals. Traffic impact, getting around. If you are a user of our transit system here, I feel you. That's never fun. We did have a DUI. A bus driver killed a guy, and he was arrested for operating the bus with people on it for being impaired. So that was something. The rest of us, though, we face commute issues, traffic in general, just general chaos, not being able to get around. This isn't normal, though. I don't know if you know this, but there's always something to be torn down and rebuilt, torn up and repaved, etc. here in Vegas. So I've lived here for 10 years. Everything is always under construction or about to be imploded and rebuilt. A city that not only never turns off the lights, but also never stops paving. The considerations, I talked about this during the considerations for employees on the Strip and the impact it would have on them getting to work were left to chance until very late. I think it was October 10th, if memory serves. You can listen to the previous show about that. This is a systems problem. This is about being bedazzled by the bright lights of a Formula One race. This is an operations and logistics concern. If you are so distracted by the big money and the press and the headlines, the excitement of putting together something like this at this scale, and you, forget to think of the people that will be put out. And, our fun economy, this is a core economy. This is why I've said it before. I mock Bo Bernard. He's very, he's prolific in his promotion of the fun economy, which is fine. And I've said before, even though I'm not a huge Bo Bernard fan, he is correct. 40 million visitors don't come here to look at trees that have been cut down. They come here for Vegas. They come here for the things that are, in many cases, uniquely Vegas. And so to watch them be put at risk, and guess what? The people who work on the Strip, I want to say it was 10,000 people in each time slot or something. There's more than 10,000 people working on the Strip, but directly impacted by being able to get to work, to get home from work. You cannot possibly tell a person who normally gets off work at 2 a.m, say, that, it's going to take you an extra 2 hours to get home because we're completely rerouting your normal. That's not being human-centric in your approach to this. So I don't know how things finally shook out to get people to and from work. There was a reference to using the monorail and some other some parking that was made available, and so there are situations that were shown light upon and then addressed at some point. Surely after, in the post show, we will have more references to some interviews and some data on how that shaked out, one of those. So the the direct impact on people working there was, I believe, in my opinion, left to chance till way too late in the game. I think more people should have been accounted for and been a part of that conversation. And in light of the strike, that was kind of the accidental contract negotiations. In light of all that, there should really have been some attention paid to the humans. And I think maybe those things should be considered together. You should be wondering, are dollar signs getting in the way at every turn? It's possible. So for myself, the Formula One race did not directly impact me, although I did limit my travel downtown and certainly on the Strip. I was on the Strip once. I want to say once maximum for the entire duration. Well, I went to the Mobile World Congress, but yeah, I was only on the Strip proper once, and luckily minimal impact due to construction. So mostly for myself, I avoided the whole thing. That may be true for many people. So these sorts of things do have an impact, and I often wonder if the thinking takes that into account, or if it's really all about leading from the top, ignoring the bottom, and looking at the outcome as the proof in the pudding, the ends justifying the means. So, and the point of all this I will make at the end. As with the first show, though, I am looking at this as a particularly disruptive example of what happens when you make a change that impacts many. Does it benefit many? We'll still be asking that. So tourism visitors, from an economic standpoint, this is the end goal of Vegas. Even though the people that live here should be a concern, they may or may not be. But tourism is a major component of our economy. It would be foolish to put that at risk. So from an economic standpoint, did the local economy, with outside inputs from tourists and visitors, and hopefully those people will come again, did it benefit? That is the end goal, right? Economic diversity for the win. So this is the fun economy. Did they come for the event? Did they have fun? Will they return? Or did they come for not the event? And did they still have the same fun they could have had in our fun economy? There were countless returns. There were countless interviews on people who came to Vegas, probably returning, probably looking for their annual visit or their typical spots. Many people were off-put by the cutting down of the trees along the Bellagio, the water railing, I guess. There were trees that were there for shade. No more. They were chopped down. That upset some people who thought the trees could have been relocated instead of being chopped down. They drained the water out of the gondola ride, I guess. The water at the Venetian, was emptied for the sake of the race and construction. So this had an impact because it all had to happen beforehand. This had an impact on people visiting for weeks. And so while the race itself may have brought a fan base to Vegas, maybe people who have never been to Vegas, I would find that difficult to believe, but could be. For the race weekend or the week of, you can look at those numbers. But during the entire construction window, you have to look at tourists and visitors who come here regularly, or who came here for the first time expecting a Vegas experience and instead reached the under construction experience. Those trees are no longer here. That water is being drained. Sorry. The prices are much higher than you expected, or so on and so on. So the impact due to the construction and the preparation and the associated costs and inconvenience need to be considered as a total impact. If we were doing an environmental impact report, we'd be looking at all these things, right? So we should be looking at an economic impact report and consider the costs involved, not only to feed the project, but to deter visitors and to alter their flow through the city, possibly deterring them from interacting with particular businesses and so on. So the impact felt on the ground is something to look at well beyond the week of the race, several weeks and even months before. Putting the strip back, the race at the track itself needs to be reset, right, to allow for normal people to get around. That could take 6 to 8 weeks, so at least that long following the race. So that puts us into CES territory. So will people be coming here for CES, and will we get some feedback on that? That'll be interesting to see. CES is January 9th, 2024. So just at the end of that 6 to 8 week window will be an event like CES, which is considered to be one of the largest. I saw one number that 315,000 people came for the Formula One race. I would very much like to see that broken down and actually checked. CES hits high numbers at the 180,000 mark. However, I will say if you look at the LVCVA research data for any particular week, if you look at January's, each week in January, or if you look at first or second week, month over month, etc., the CES event, even though it is the largest trade show or among the largest at this point, doesn't necessarily drastically alter the visitor numbers. They just shift, right? So rather than having a general population of tourists and visitors, you have a slight leaning towards consumer electronics. For that week, you have more people staying and then staying around the convention center or the other satellite locations, the Venetian Expo. I think at the Aria, there's so more people are here for that particular event. Same can be said for Formula One. The room rates do go up. There is a change in the short term cost of fun, I guess. I was gonna say cost of living. It's sort of like that, right? You're changing how much it costs to live in Vegas for a week. So these are all things that they do deserve, and we'll get a more detailed examination in the post and between now and the post show for the fun economy, the F1 fun economy. What else can we add to our economy? That's the whole reason to look at this. I may have mentioned this before. There's this notion that Las Vegas, the greater Vegas area, will be the next Silicon Valley. We will not. We could add basketball. We could add more conferences and conventions. We could have more transactional events, and people come, they conduct their business, they enjoy their time. They add to our economy by staying in resorts and hotel rooms. They spend money in local businesses, restaurants, bars, entertainment, shows, professional sports. They game, and then they go home or wherever. Residents and traditional businesses, including service industries, of course, and teachers, retail, other services, employees, everybody who lives in a normal place. If you remove the Vegas from Vegas, it's a normal society. People have jobs. There are kids that have to go to school. There are people that have to eat and drink, and there are people that have to drive cars that need maintenance and so on. And so all those normal things. These are people that are impacted when you disrupt traffic for a couple months or tear down things that normally would draw their customers to visit them. You say, I'm not going to visit Vegas. The place is a mess. I'll go maybe in a couple of months or maybe next year. So that has impact on local small business and the people who live here and who depend on those things. Entrepreneurs starting small and medium businesses are part of our functional municipal locality, right? So those are normal things. There's no reason that would not be occurring. If we become the next Silicon Valley, would that happen more? Well, it would have to happen more. Otherwise, we would just be a normal city. But those don't go away. So there's under no circumstances should those be viewed as not important or not a focus. People are entrepreneurial everywhere. Being an entrepreneur means you are starting a business. There's a joke that being an entrepreneur is someone who has an idea but no money. I am that many times over. So that can and should continue and hopefully will. And encouraging that is part of what we're trying to accomplish here, the EIE, Entrepreneurial Innovation Ecosystem. So those things are good. Those should continue to be a part of our economy and should be made stronger so that the people choosing those things have a better shot. Should we be an innovation hub? I have said this many times. We should be an innovation destination. Look at all that transactional business. People come here, they conduct their business, and they leave. We don't drastically increase the cost of living. We don't price out the people that are making all these things happen, the service industry, the people that work in the businesses that are directly impacted by and who enable or which enable tourism and visits and conventions and sporting events now and all those things. So innovation destination can actually be a part of the fun economy. Come here to Vegas for your innovation week, for your innovation sprint, like reInvent going on from Amazon, like the Intel Sales and Marketing Conference, 1 week a year. Like so many things where you bring people from different parts of the world together at Vegas. You stay in hotel rooms at resorts. You feed the economy by eating and drinking and traveling around and participating in it. And then you leave. So you are fueling the people, you are enabling, you are financing the people who live here and who power this economy without fundamentally shifting it through gentrification by relocating businesses here. So the innovation hub idea, I am not a fan of, nor have I been. The innovation destination, however, big fan. I've already talked about the Fusion Center idea, how that may, not directly, but it sort of manifests itself in the tech park on Sunset, a UNLV project. So the question though is, and again, so the people that come here to be innovative and then leave, so they're transient or transactional, they contribute to the fun economy, making use of it and adding to it, but they don't put it at risk by changing the cost of living and pricing people out from enabling, empowering the fun economy. So, and again, we saw during the pandemic times, 25 to 40% rent increases made it difficult for people to stay here when there were no tourists coming here. So we can already look at that tiny mini example, something to be cognizant of and cautious of, in fact. So when I look at the Formula One race, the promotion of it, the focus on which outcomes matter, the KPIs, the KPIs may be overly centered on the big money, the race owners, and then the adjacent businesses, the resorts and so on, without paying sufficient attention necessarily. I think there should be more attention paid to the underpinnings of an economy, which are, as everyone knows, small business. Those small businesses are what make an economy go. And it will be interesting to see for our post show how this shakes out, where the money actually landed, who actually suffered for the sake of this wonderful Formula One Grand Prix in Las Vegas. Is there enough culture and ecosystem here in Greater Vegas to support the next Silicon Valley moniker? Let's talk about it in 10 years. In the meantime, I hope you had a happy holiday. You can hear my voice, as usual, is ending the show before I am. The weather is turning. The weather is getting chilly, which is nice. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some more rain. Lake Mead is apparently up, but is projected to be the lowest levels on record. Record-breaking low levels. One of those. In the next year or two, so don't believe everything you read. But do bring your own water if you come to Vegas, and leave it if you have extra. We need it. Thanks as always for listening. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to be on the show so we can talk about what you're up to and what would make our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem better, then I'm here for it. So let me know. Our new website that will self-host is coming. That's what long weekends are for. Our website needs some attention so that we can roll out some of the other projects we're working on, and we can certainly cover this stuff. And I want to say that surveying the people of Greater Vegas about stuff like Formula One race impact on their life, their business, their future, I think it's important to capture that information at scale and not rely on local media, local government, commercial interest to do that for us. We're in this together. I'm an entrepreneur just as much as you are, or maybe as much as you want to be. So there you go. Thank you for listening again. Thank you for sharing this with others. The more people listen, the more fun it is.